wanted those bodies more than anything. And he dismembered the bodies to help dispose of them. We find out that he had a criminal history out in Colorado.
It was one of the most horrific murder cases in Central Ohio. 15 years ago this month, a mother, her son, and her friend killed in their Knox County home. Their bodies later discovered hidden in a tree. The lone survivor, a 13-year-old girl rescued from the killer's house. This case shook Central Ohio and still haunts many people today. Hello there, I'm Angela Ann. We now have new insights into the crime that took place. 10 TV's Kevin Landers spoke with the detective who went face-to-face with the killer 15 years ago.
Turn around here and just face the wall for me.
This is the room.
All right, Matt, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pat you down here real quick.
Where mass murderer Matthew Hoffman
Matt, you want something to drink?
will be questioned for the next 3 days.
Is that your heart? Your saying heart? Broken. Your heart's broken?
About the deaths of 3 people.
Tell me where they're at, Matt.
32-year-old Tina Herman, her 11-year-old son Cody Maynard, and 41-year-old friend Stephanie Sprang were presumed dead, but no one except Matthew Hoffman knew where they were.
We're going to find them. You know we're going to find them. We're going to find them.
Hoffman's killing spree unfolded inside the Knox County home of Tina Herman, a home Hoffman watched from the woods across the street.
He went there the night before with a sleeping bag and slept there.
He later gained entry by crawling under this broken garage door while the home was unoccupied. That's Detective Joe Dietz.
He didn't wake up, deciding he was going to go out and become a multiple murderer. He was just, basically doing his burglary thing, and then boom.
Dietz will spend days attempting to get Hoffman to disclose the location of the bodies.
Worst case of your career?
Yes, unquestionably.
Detectives identified Hoffman as a prime suspect thanks to a crucial piece of evidence that could have been overlooked.
So that detail
was huge. That was the case breaker.
A case that began with no bodies and no murder suspect until an alert crime detective spotted this Walmart bag in the Herman garage.
So had the detective blew off the Walmart bag in the garage, where would this case be?
I don't know. I don't think it would be solved.
Inside the Walmart bag were tarps, which detectives believed the killer used to transport the bodies out of the home.
So we rushed over to Walmart, took a look at the video, and we saw, later to be identified, Matthew Hoffman.
There was something else spotted on that security video.
The security guard at Walmart saw his car. There was no license plate visible, but he said, "I think that's a Toyota Yaris."
Using a state database, detectives searched the make and model of car in Knox County.
And on the first page of the hits that we got back was Matthew Hoffman. Not only was a picture of Matthew Hoffman, it was a picture of Matthew Hoffman wearing the same shirt he had on in Walmart.
Once police had Hoffman's address and a search warrant, SWAT officers came crashing in.
We broke into the house, with the SWAT team, arrested him, and found her in the basement.
13-year-old Sarah Maynard was the lone survivor. She was held captive for 4 days in a basement full of leaves.
She was a tough little girl. The way, like I said, that she came through that.
Dietz rode with her to the hospital.
She asked obviously about her mom and her brother. And, and I just told her that, we didn't know.
Which leads us back to the interrogation room.
I knew I must have done something wrong. And I found her in my house. She's tied up. And so I took care of her. I don't really know anything else.
Detectives weren't buying it.
I don't want to hurt anyone. That's not me.
Dietz changed tactics.
One of the things that was very motivating for him was food. That's why I brought in pizza and I brought in Egg McMuffins and all that stuff, because when he would get some food, he would open up a little bit.
It begins to work a little bit. The questioning gets more intense.
If you don't want to talk about anything else, tell us where the bodies are so that they can be at rest.
We need to know where to look to find those bodies.
People will think I'm a monster. I'm a monster. If I've done what you guys said I've done, then
Hoffman never reveals where the bodies are.
I don't know what good it's going to do. I don't know where to look.
Off camera, Hoffman devises a plan to end his life.
And he wanted me to agree to take him out under the ruse of supposedly showing us where the bodies were, and then he was going to try to escape, and he wanted me to agree to kill him.
With the families left to wonder if they'll ever get to bury their loved ones, prosecutors strike a deal with Hoffman, reveal the location of the bodies, and in exchange, the death penalty is dropped. The family reluctantly agreed.
And to actually be able to have to go in there and say, well, look, he's offering this, if we do that, was like a gut punch to them.
With the death penalty no longer in play, Hoffman writes this 4-page confession sealing his fate. He would explain how the murders happened, the knife he took with him, his plans to burn the house down to conceal the crime, and how he killed the family dog.
The dog, he said, kept barking while this was all going on, and he just couldn't deal with it.
On November 18th, 2010, with map in hand, the search for the bodies begins out there in the Kokosing Lake Wildlife Area, about 15 to 20 miles from the crime scene.
I crawled up on the investigator's back and looked through a knothole on the tree that was about 7 foot above the ground and put a flashlight in there. And there was a bunch of wood chips and stuff, but I could see the partial portions of black plastic garbage bags. And that's how we knew that was the tree.
A tree, he says, that would never have been found.
The only way we would have ever uncovered those bodies without him telling us where they were would be if that tree got struck by lightning and somebody out there looking for mushrooms or hunting or something came upon, these bags.
After the discovery of the dismembered bodies, Hoffman wanted more.
He killed 3 people, kidnapped another one, and he was concerned about the tree. He wanted pictures before and after of the tree to show that we hadn't killed the tree. We took an after picture to show him the tree was still intact, and then I told him to cut it down because Matthew Hoffman wasn't controlling the scene anymore.
15 years have passed since the Knox County murders.
You never really put a case like this to bed.
A case that started as a botched burglary and ended with 3 people dead, a family shattered, and a 13-year-old left traumatized more than a decade later. Detective Dietz has a theory about what would have happened if Matthew Hoffman wasn't caught.
I think he had the potential to become a serial killer because he got thrills from doing these burglaries where no one knew he was in their house, and now he's killed 3 people, so what's it going to take for him to get thrilled now going forward? Maybe additional murders. Maybe burglaries aren't going to do it anymore.
Kevin Landers, 10 TV News.
And I'm joined now by Kevin Landers. And Kevin, truly what an incredible story. We were both here when this happened, but seeing your story again, it just feels like this was yesterday. What do you remember about covering this case then?
Even going through all the research, it still haunts me that there are people like this living amongst us that could pull a crime off like this. And I think what really gives me hope is that there are detectives out there who are committed to solving these cases and bringing justice to families. And in this case, I think that's exactly what happened. And these families obviously got the answers that they needed so that they could move on with their lives.
I'm trying to think back, Kevin. This first came in as a missing persons case. And then at what point did detectives start realizing that this was more serious than that?
Well, I think for us, we knew that there was a missing persons case. And oftentimes when you have a missing persons case, you don't think much of it, especially when it involves adults. But when Cody didn't show up for school, then we started getting tips that there was something, perhaps foul play involved in the house. We still didn't know exactly, obviously, the extent of it. Then our radar started to go up. There's something bigger here going on, and we knew this was not going to be good.
And people, I remember talking about the dog. Like the dog was always around the house, it was outside, but it was nowhere to be seen.
Nowhere to be seen, yeah. And of course, unfortunately, Matthew Hoffman, as you heard in that piece, couldn't stand the dog barking in the house and ended up killing the dog.
Let's talk about Detective Joe Dietz. So fascinating when he was talking about that pivotal piece of evidence, that Walmart bag. I mean, so many people would have just walked right by it. At what point did that detective say, this might be tied to the
I
case?
think that when you talk to Detective Dietz, he makes it very clear this was not about luck. This was about great police work. This crime scene detective started to think about, clearly bodies had been killed in this home. How could the killer have removed them? And they began to think about tarps. And when he saw that Walmart bag and the tarp inside, that's when things started to click. I wonder if Walmart would have surveillance video or some evidence that would connect someone to buying tarps on that day and time. Sure enough, Walmart not only had the receipt, but they also had the surveillance video. And the surveillance video led them to a person who happened to be wearing a camouflage shirt, which happened to be Matthew Hoffman, who wore the same shirt in his driver's license photo. And then the security guard noticed in the video there's a car there, and that unique car, that Toyota Yaris, they began to search, put it in a database, it went to Matthew Hoffman, and then the case took off.
I mean, when you say what are the chances of that, but the chances are high when you have good detective work, and then when you hear police always saying every small detail could break a case. This is a classic example of why that actually happens.
I think that most detectives who are working this case would probably admit that had that Walmart bag not been discovered, we could still be looking for those bodies today. They knew that he had committed the murders. How are they going to find the bodies? And that's what they were trying to do this entire time. And Hoffman just would not give it up, and he never did give it up. He only gave it up when the prosecutor decided that we're going to take the death penalty off the table, because they knew Hoffman did not want to die by lethal injection.
Sure.
And it was that point, it was a very difficult decision, one that the families did not want to see happen. The fact that Hoffman still had a card to play made them upset, but they knew this was the only way they were going to be able to bury their loved ones. And when Hoffman gave that up, they got their wish.
I have to say, at the center of this, my heart still goes to Sarah. I mean, she was 13 at the time. I can't imagine the fear of a child watching this unfold with her family, people that she loved, and then being taken the way she was and hidden inside his home. I think I remember the investigation even saying, Kevin, that she remembers hearing investigators in the home, but she was in the basement, buried by those leaves. Right. And so she was so brave to talk with us back then. We had a special called Saving Sarah. Talk about the courage of this young woman.
Yeah, it's truly unbelievable. So when Sarah was in that basement all that time, Matthew Hoffman had told her that there's a ransom note. There may be people looking for you who may not be good people, so you have to be quiet. He was trying to convince her to be quiet. So originally when the SWAT officers came in, initially she didn't know who they were, right? And then she saw the uniforms and she saw them and she knew she was in good hands. But you know, the whole time that Sarah was being held captive and after she was rescued, Detective Dietz was talking to me about how composed she was, how she was willing to give information to help them with this case. I mean, she was a true hero in this case. And I've had a chance to speak to Sarah, you know, for several months, trying to see if she'd be willing to be part of this story. Sure. And obviously she did not want to be. Obviously the trauma is still there with her, and we totally understand. But she did tell me that when I asked her if she had anything to say to Matthew Hoffman, and she was reluctant. And she finally said, you know, I hope that he doesn't have another breath, and I hope he dies in hell.
Wow. Very strong words from a young woman who I'm sure today is still dealing with so much.
She's dealing with it. She's dealing with it, and I think that people don't really understand. Obviously, she was a very young girl, 13 years old when this happened, and the trauma is still very real for her today. And we hope that she gets help, and we hope she, you know, is able to live a life that she was denied for many months, many days.
Matthew Hoffman sentenced to life without parole. So what do we know about him today?
So we actually went through a public information request and pulled out his disciplinary file from Toledo Correctional, where he's spending his time there. And if you go through it, he has had some issues throughout his time there in prison. We actually asked the prison to see if we could talk to him. They deny our ability to talk to him on camera. We wrote him a letter hoping he'd respond. He didn't. That's obviously up to him. But he has had some issues in prison, but he has never disclosed why he, you know, any remorse in terms of what he did, at least to the family. I know that Sarah wants to know from him, why me?
The motive.
The motive.
Has he ever disclosed that in any way to Detective Dietz?
I mean, it was a burglary. It was a burglary, and he had done other burglaries before this. He had gotten kind of a kick out of being in someone's home without them knowing. And that's what it was, but it was a burglary that went bad. He didn't expect them to return home, and he panicked. And when he panicked, for some reason, he did bring a knife with him to this burglary. Sure. But they don't believe his intention was to kill anyone. It was a burglary, and he hoped to get out of there before they came in. But when he was surprised, that's how he reacted.
I think what was most frightening to hear from Detective Joe Dietz, even today, he's since retired, but him saying that he felt, after interrogating Matthew Hoffman, that there were serial killer tendencies based on the questioning. And based on what you see, you said he has issues in prison. I mean, any of those issues showing any types of violence or any rehabilitation?
He ripped a cord out of a fan. He was caught with some disturbing sexual videos or sexual pictures in his cell, but nothing beyond that. So I don't know how much, I think that's a theory that could this have led to more killings down the road? I think that's certainly a possibility, yeah.
Well, Kevin, thank you so much for bringing some of this new information to light. Certainly, it sounds like a crime novel, if you will, but sadly, at the center of it, we have two families that are still grieving, and we have Sarah, who's now still going through so much.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was obviously a case that shocked not only Ohio, but the rest of the world. This case was so popular because of just the grotesqueness of it all. And I think that when you look at it, just how thankful we are to have police and detectives out there who are working relentlessly to try to get justice for people.
And thinking outside the box.
Absolutely.
I think that's the biggest message to take away. Kevin, thank you so much, and thank you for watching this special presentation of 10 TV+.